Hello, everyone, and as always, welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Today, back into the best one, Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. This is our play by email challenge with our good friend Lodrick, and we've been trying to adapt to Lodrick's aggressiveness, and I would say effective aggressiveness, certainly. Um, Up until this point, we have lost a lot of ships, we've lost a lot of men, but nothing that's fatal to us. That being said, this game may go down to points. So, we've got to be very, very careful. I've shifted our tactics, as I've mentioned many times before, and things are going much better at this point. Now, he is just outside of Singapore. He's now taken Manila and he's pushing towards Clark Field. We will soon be ejected from the Philippines, certainly, and also from Malaysia. Now, he hasn't really come at Sumatra yet, like Palembang, which is Palembang, Ustave in that area, and he hasn't gotten down to Java yet. But hey, it's only January 4th, and we're going to be looking at the combat resolution for January 4th and January 5th. Now, I mentioned once again we haven't lost anything critical yet because this turn that changes a little bit. Now, we can argue about what's critical and what isn't, but any time that a carrier gets hit, you've got to start asking some questions. I'm a little angry with myself, to be honest with you, for even bringing the Hermes out. I thought that we might have problems with bombers, Japanese bombers off of the mainland. That wasn't the problem, but we'll get to all that. So this is the January 4th and 5th combat save. We're just going to jump right into it and see what happened. And of course, there was a lot of bombing this time. You may be shocked by that, but Lodrick's bombing campaign has just been a sight to behold. I don't believe I've ever seen such a relentless bombing campaign in China. It's really paid dividends for him so far. We'll see if we can do a little something about that, especially during our setup phase. I've got a few things that I'm adjusting to try to deal with that a little bit, or at least get in some shots at those bomber crews. Because ultimately, what the Japanese have a problem with is experienced pilots. Once you start tearing through the Japanese pilots, they really go down in experience level, and when that happens, they're not nearly as effective. They have a lot more operational losses, et cetera, et cetera. And so we've got to start ripping into his, not necessarily the airframes themselves, but to send those airframes down just so they lose the pilots, because experience it's very hard for the Japanese to replace their pilot pool once you start just grinding it down. All right, first action here, we've got the battleship Hyuga. It's right off of Cagayan here on the island of Mindanao in the southern Philippines. He is softening us up like butter in the microwave for an attack. Now, we did have some aircraft out here. I didn't buy them out. I didn't take them anywhere. These Seagulls, some O-47As, they're getting destroyed on the field. It looks like we lost 5 or 6 there. He's also got a cruiser or a cruiser task force down here. The Ioba is hitting Ambon as he starts moving down in these islands just north of Darwin. And that starts to get dangerous once he gets, very close down here. Now you can see this is a Japanese sub. It's been a few turns before his submarines have, or since his submarines have really got into us, but here they do. The Arkansas. Now I think this is a 6-point cargo ship. He found this down the edge of the map, and so we were, way out here on the edge of the map. But he found us, and you can see we've also got the Diamond Head in here. This did have destroyer escort, so sometimes you just got to tip your cap. We've got an escort out here with two fairly low value AKs. That goes to show you just how much destroyer escort and KV escort I'm running, that I had the dent out here with them. Well, the dent, they got past the dent, and now the Arkansan is in trouble. Um, yeah, I mean, the dent tried to find it after that, but it was a little too late once it gets two torpedoes in the side, and there goes down the Arkansan. That's hard to say. Arkansas and okay, sure. Okay, so he got a little bit of sub action there, but those are the kind of losses you can easily accept and move on. You had a destroyer with two low value cargo ships. It got past the destroyer, and you lose one of them. Well, it happens. And if it didn't happen, there would be no reason to have subs. The ones that we can abide by is where we have no escort out in the middle of nowhere, and he takes down several ships because we just didn't send escort with it. In this case, we did. I've got escort with everything now. But we'll get to another submarine action here at the end of the turn. So yeah, that's a whole different ball of wax, certainly. All right, we're getting all of these sightings. We now see a Japanese sub down in the Java Sea. As a matter of fact, we see two of them down there. It's very important that we pay attention to where we're getting some of these sightings because it's not always clear where his main task forces are. They're moving fast. We get kind of some conflicting stuff. I've got everything on naval search now, so we have a lot of planes out to try to give us recon. Where is stuff? What's happening? All right, 9-0 sweep up over Cheng Chao here just to see if we have any air support. And once he determines that, then out come the bombers. So we didn't put anything up in the air out over Cheng Chao or Loyang. I think actually we don't have anything left. I think those I-15s got destroyed there. And now he can go bomb up by Cheng Chao. But now we're down into Malaya. 22 Nels come in hot. We damaged two of them, and we took 15 casualties. Yeah, these sightings can give you a lot of information. From time to time, I've escaped through them, but I always go back and read the log to see where that is, just so I can get an idea of where his main task forces are. Six Nels come in here and provide 130 casualties. Wow, that was bad for us. 130 casualties on only six bombers. That's a very effective bombing run. Now, part of that is these guys are moving. Now, they're still in combat mode. They're not in move mode. You'll lose more if they're in move mode, but even if they're in combat mode and they're moving, they lose more to bombing. So you want to try to get these Chinese units set up as fast as you can and don't move them, but that's not an option out here in Southeast China. Looks like we had 8 casualties on 17 bombers there. And we come back around here, 31 bombers in. One Sally got damaged. We took 18 casualties. All right. Now he's bombing right outside of I Chang. We took 8 casualties there. One An got damaged. Now he's going to sweep over Changsha. He does that with some Tojos. Now we've been seeing a lot of zeros, but here he comes in with Tojos. We've only got one I-15 there, so that's probably not going to last very long. Well, shoot, didn't mean to escape through that. Not sure if we lost that plane or not, but probably. Now we got some Sallies bombing north of Pao Tao as he continues just to push us back up this road. Between this one stack of units he's got out here and the bombing campaign, we're taking a lot of casualties. That was 95 more. This area up here, he's pushed us from here all the way up here bombing all the way. Now we had two I-15s that got up against some Sally bombers here. Doesn't look like we knocked any out, but now we're trying to get them on the way back out. When you watch these combat animations, sometimes you'll see the I-15s against Sallies, then you see the bombing, then you see I-15s against Sallies. What that is the approach, the bombing, and then the fly back to base. We try to catch them on the way back. We did damage 4 Sallies this time. Now, he did cause 110 casualties. Well, some of those planes went down. That's not a bad trade-off for us. These poor units still trying to get back to Yan'an. They've got almost nothing left. They've just been bombed into submission almost. 38 ANs caused 0 losses. Hard to find us up here in the mountains and could be bad weather too. I didn't look. Looks like thunderstorms. There you go. Right up here, thunderstorms. So, it's hard to find us out here. And again, he misses us. Causes no casualties. Those bombs fall harmless somewhere into the mountainous night. 29 lilies up here in and near Yunnan. This is the other group trying to get back. They're also up in the mountains, hard to find with thunderstorms. 29 lilies. He causes 9 casualties. He's got recon flying over, or at least we said we spotted recon over Rangoon. It's only a matter of time before he starts bombing Rangoon, I would suspect. 13 Sonyas, 10 Nates in here on this group, again in southeast China, where that ground has to be completely pockmarked. I don't think that there's any inch left of that ground that hasn't been bombed. Our poor group trying to get back to Yan'an. Hopefully the bad weather, yeah, the bad weather's protecting us a little bit. 9 casualties there. We need to get them to Yunnan, get them set up, try to rebuild them a little bit because the bombing has just been crazy. Also down here southeast, 19 casualties there. And again, over 32nd Army, we're seeing more sightings. This is our guys back to Yunnan yet again. Uh, at this point, this is probably a little overkill. I'm not sure what he's really gaining from this. They're going to get back to Yunnan now, maybe not with a whole hell of a lot left, but at this point, those could probably go to better purposes. All right, we're seeing some aircraft over Palembang. Probably just a matter of time before his carriers get down and around that area. He'll probably want to take Singapore first and then start focusing over on Sumatra. Yeah, we're seeing planes out and around Rangoon. Again, he knows we've got the Flying Tigers in and around that area, and generally speaking, the Flying Tigers can really rip up um, even the best of the Japanese fighters and pilots. Well, I say rip up. I mean, again, Zeros with good experienced pilots, it's probably a pretty fair fight. But he doesn't want to risk a lot of that early on. Okay, so then now he's bombing this group that got kicked out of Pau Kau. This group tried to get to Nanning, turned around, came back. Now it's, gotten ejected from Pau Kau, and it takes 141 casualties here. Seeing some aircraft over Batavia. That's not surprising because his main task force was moving what looked back through the Oosthaven Strait there. I say main task force, I'm talking, of course, about carriers when I say main task forces. Usually, he's got two or three of them, just depends how the Japanese player wants to break it up. Usually, they'll keep 6 carriers together. In one group, and then he's got smaller light carriers that'll put in different groups. But that the old Kido Butai gets split up usually into two different main, what I would call the main task forces of the Japanese Navy, and you gotta know where they are at all times because they're completely unstoppable early in the game. It's like having some kind of super weapon that just moves around the map, so you've always got to know where they are. And a lot of that's your naval search. All right, we're getting attacked on the land out here in Malaysia as he continues to just harry and harass this group that didn't make it out, and we couldn't get them down to Singapore, and they have taken a lot of casualties. Here, we actually punched back a little bit. 461 on the Japanese casualties, 735 on the Allied. We'll certainly take that for this group that has just got to be absolutely exhausted and completely beaten down by bombing. All right, this is the group that got kicked out of Nanyang. Now, this has caused me a lot of heartburn that he has marched up here and taken Nanyang. Now, why is that? Well, we have Cheng Tao and Loyang over here, or I'm sorry, Cheng Chao and Loyang. These are two of your big major defensive bases here. We've got 1700 value, 1500 value here. Usually you can hold the Japanese off for a very long time with these two bases. He's just come around the edge here. Well, he actually just marched north. He came out of Hankow, and instead of focusing on Changsha, which a lot of Japanese players will do, he said, you know what? Where do I hurt him the most? Well, he hurts me the most up here. Now, the problem he has is we can also get up and around him and potentially try to starve these guys out. He's got two huge forces here. He's attacking here, and let's now escape through that. As you can see, he has got a lot of assault value out here. This unit of ours, you can see all of these Chinese corps. They're trying to get out of here. You know, they're going to head up to Cyan and try to get out of here. Um, as we go to 000, as we jump out of the hex. But we're taking major losses with this unit here because the unit we had originally here, I say the units that we had originally here at Nanyang were quite strong. But now you can see 2776. He's got 115,000 troops out here. We have 25,000, which, I mean, not bad, right? Usually in China. But look at his adjusted assault value. I mean, it's just insane. He took 1,304 casualties. We took almost 10,000. That's not good. All right, he's attacking here in southeast China. I've been thinking a lot about what to do up around that Nanyang area. The problem is we've got like four different groups that all have about 1,200 combat value. If we put them all together, we probably have more combat value than he does. Unfortunately, they're very hard to get. I mean, they're all kind of out. They're in a ring around him. And I think maybe our best bet is to try to keep him from getting supply. Okay, this is just a bombardment attack up here north of Kukong. He's bombarded there several times. I don't think his force there is very strong, so I don't think he quite trusts them to do a deliberate attack. And now you see the 81st Chinese Corps finally surrendered here. This is that group that got kicked out of Pao Tao. It's been bombed into nothingness, and we only had about 1,200 troops left. 1342. That's how many men ended up surrendering. So he's doing a great job in China. There's a lot of stuff that we can do in China to kind of turn that a little bit into a stalemate, and that's what we'll be trying to do. I think that's best case scenario for us right now in China is just kind of a stalemate where he still has to have forces engaged up there. You can't move them elsewhere around the map. But as of right now, we've got some problems in China, just being honest there. All right, these are all just fortifications building up, so I went through that. And that was January 4th, and now we're on to January 5th. You can see up here, January 5th, and as we pop around here, you can see what the weather forecast is wherever we are. We've got heavy moonlight tonight, 89%. That moon is for lovers out there, boys, in the Pacific. So, I mean, that always helps some visibility. You spot more things. Your night bombing runs, if you're the Japanese, can be a little more effective. It's crazy the detail of this game, of course. I'm not sure I've ever seen another game that modeled what the moonlight percentage was, but okay, I love it. The more information, the better. I would love to see the algorithm of how that affects things. I'm not obviously privy to that, but it's very fascinating to me, certainly. The Pickerel is out here trying to get back to Pearl Harbor. You can see temporary flotation is failing upon the Pickerel, so we may end up losing yet another sub, and that always is a gut punch. Tell you what, I think about those guys that are out in those subs. Can you imagine being in a sub out in the middle of nowhere, Pacificville, and your flotation, your temporary flotation starts to fail? What a feeling. What a feeling. If I had one job I wouldn't want in World War II, it'd be a submariner. What a just awful, dirty job. I mean, nowadays, those U.S. nuclear subs, anyway, are, like cruise ships compared to what they were now. I'm not saying it's a great job now either. Just being under the ocean like that would be such a strange feeling. But anyway, okay, on to the game. Might as well chit chat while we're just getting these sightings if you've been paying attention to them. There was something out by Suva that appears to have carriers in it, so we'll have to take a peek at that. He's sweeping out over Changchao here, making sure that we don't have any cap so that he can continue doing his bombing missions. If you ever play the Japanese, this is the way you do it. You sweep first, make sure he doesn't have any fighters in the area. By he, I mean the allied player. And once you determine that, then it's just game on with the bombing. But I am bringing a portion of the Flying Tigers over here to China. We've got to start to slow down some of this bombing. We destroyed a zero. Wow. So this I-15 went mano-y-mano. Well, actually, even better than that. They had 9 zeros. We had only 3 I-15s, and we went 1-1 against them. We'll certainly take that. All right, no joy there for either team. That was just a sweep over the top. Cyan, he's sweeping yet again. We did get a couple of I-15s up. Let's see what the result of that is. So he had 9 zeros, 4 I-15s. He did destroy one I-15, but they're hanging in there. I mean, believe me, the Zero is a much better aircraft, and their pilots are much better, certainly, than the Chinese pilots. So, we're actually holding our own. Three Mabels in on this group outside of Pacao, back into southeast China as the relentless bombing campaign continues. Looks like those are coming out of Formosa, modern day Taiwan, Formosa. Um, and you can see the line here. You can only see it where we start to pick up what direction it was coming from. Again, another amazing thing about this game, right? It's not like it just draws the line. Let's just say this is coming out of Takao. It's not like it draws the line from there like most games would. It only starts to draw the line from where we actually pick up what direction it's coming from. Pretty crazy. 19 Sonia's in here on Loy Ang. We take 9 casualties and damage 4 planes. Now you can see the difference when he tries to bomb something that's these troops are stationary. There's a lot of AA in here, so we do more damage. He gets less casualties, generally speaking. Um, and so again, with these Chinese forces, you want to get them where they need to go, set them down, let them start building fort levels, and you get a lot less casualties. Unfortunately, these guys had to try to get back to Yan'an, and they have just gotten absolutely ripped. We've got another one of these groups up here in southeast China. That time we take no losses. There were thunderstorms. The weather plays a big part in how much damage these bombing runs do. 3 and 7 in southeast China. We damaged a plane, took 28 casualties. Okay, there's actually thunderstorms in this area as well, but I mean, it doesn't mean he can't bomb at all, and he's getting, 28 casualties. It's better than the 110 or 140, and maybe that is getting knocked down a little bit just because the weather's not very good. The Mary's in here on Chengchao. 8 casualties reported. Again, that is we're not moving those troops. They're sitting in a fortification level. It's just going to do less damage. Now he's bombing just north of Kukong. This is also worrisome. We don't want him to get up and around us here at Changsha. That's the easiest way to take Changsha from a manpower loss standpoint. It's hard for the Japanese player to get up here and supply them, but for him, this is his best route rather than a direct assault on Changsha. Pacao, okay, we took 106 casualties there, but that unit's on the move, and so we're going to take more casualties. The Tojo's in, and now he's bombing. And you can see the line. We see that they're coming from the east. As we try to get this group back to Cyan, we take 54 casualties, only damage 1 plane. All right, Danish sighted over Palembang. 29 Lilies in on the Yan'an group. 17 casualties reported there. Now they're up over First Group Army, over Batavia, over Singapore, just all sightings here. Here come bombers, 16 bombers in total, Nate's and Sonia's. He gets no joy there. Again, thunderstorms here on January 5th in southeastern China. So that gives us a little bit of a respite, but not much. I mean, they can still hear the bombs dropping everywhere around them. 10 casualties on this group. I think these casualties are going down because we just don't have much left in these units, to be honest with you. Okay, southeast China into the it's only partly cloudy in this hex. 19 casualties there. All right, 9 ands, 17 casualties. 24 Idas into this poor group in the mountains. Still thunderstorms up here. He gets 8 casualties there. Surprised he's not getting a few more operational losses running out over the mountains in thunderstorms. Now he's bombing this group. Now this group has been very stable. I finally got one of the units down here, and they've just sat here. Now the original plan was to get all of this stuff from southeastern China up in this area, and so they were going to hold the river area, but unfortunately these guys have been much delayed, to say the least. 19 casualties there. So this time on the setup, I do think I'm going to go through like Singapore, Java, down in that area. That's where the biggest and best action is happening now. I think from now on, I'm going to do one episode about an hour long and just pick a really interesting part of the map. He does have aircraft out and over this. We reported something near Pearl Harbor. Interesting. Now we're reporting a bunch of ships that we're sighting here. Lots of recon we're seeing here. All right. That was kind of a very recon heavy phase. All right. We had some groups combining as they moved around. Some of the air groups moved around. That's what that phase was. All right. We've got an AKL out here that was about to sink and it has now sunk. And this is what I was talking about. The SSI 122 got into the Hermes here with the torpedo. Now, few thoughts on this. I am very upset that I even sent this over here. It was the height of hubris. Actually, it was the height of frustration because we haven't been able to get anything into Rangoon. But there was absolutely no reason to send the Hermes over here. First of all, the Hermes isn't very good. Okay, I thought he had a surface task force out here. Now, he did have some surface ships out here at one point, but they've since moved on. I don't know where they are. That's why I brought the Hermes over here, is because we've got torpedo bombers on the Hermes. I've got a lot of cruisers and light cruisers here, and I thought, okay, let's come over here, and if he does have some surface ships, I can sit back here with the Hermes and just hit him with the torpedo bombers and then finishing them off with the cruisers and light cruisers. That was stupid. That was really stupid. Part of the reason it was stupid is I didn't have enough escort craft to send out a carrier. Now, again, the Hermes is not good. It's not a good ship, but it's worth quite a bit of points. It's like 120 points. The Hermes did not sink. I've already pretty much set up the whole next turn. It took like 43 damage, system damage, and it took like 37 flotation damage. So it's not going to sink. It didn't sink. Now, one thing that does make me mad, you can see the Jumna here. This is a destroyer escort. I had that merge up here, and this sub got past it. The problem, or the reason I'm angry with myself, one destroyer escort is not enough to have with any type of carrier. You need to have at least four, probably six or eight. I mean, with your good American carriers, you're going to have six, seven, or eight of the best destroyers that you've got. In this case, it's a destroyer escort. It does have a 6 ASW. As you can see, we did hit the sub, and so the Jumna got over here. Well, I say got over here. The Jumna, the sub got past the screen of the Jumna and got these two torpedoes off. Hit with, well, he launched four. So he hit with two of his four torpedoes, got into the Hermes. So the Hermes still has a speed of 14 left. It's wounded, but we should be able to get it back to Colombo and then probably on to Cape Town. I'll probably just take it to Cape Town. I'll bring it into Colombo. I'll let them do some just kind of touch up repairs at the pier side there. Make sure we don't have the kind of flotation damage that would sink it. And then the Jumna got in 4 hits on the sub, so the sub's probably in really bad shape with 4 hits, but still, that was dumb. That was born of frustration because been doing a really good job of blocking us into Rangoon here. I've got a lot of cruisers and light cruisers that actually went in with the cargo ship. So if we just looked at this whole thing, he launched 4 at the Hermes. The Jumna immediately attacked it. We got 4 hits in. Unfortunately, he got 2 hits into a much, much more important ship than one Japanese submarine. Again, it's not going to go down, at least not yet, unless he pursues with something I'm not aware of. He could try to send a carrier force up there, but luckily, even though the Hermes is crippled, it's still got a 14 speed, and so it should be able to get back to port. And it's a lesson well learned there. That was silly. Um, the world. That can't be us. I don't know why it's showing that. Anyway, he's attacking in at Malaysia here. This is that group that's just been out here forever. They're constantly retreating, constantly getting bombed. Um, okay, this is northwest of Kukong. Again, I've got a lot of reinforcements that have come in right here. I may come down the road and try to eject him out of Kukong. Looking at what he's got out here, he's got an assault value of 835. It's about 6,000 troops. We have almost 4,000 troops. He's got a lot more guns and vehicles. You see the assault value. Now, this was just in a bombardment attack, and so ultimately we're just going to try to, move out of there. He's got us a little outnumbered, but certainly outgunned, and he's got more vehicles. All right, now we're on to the fortifications. So this time on January 4th and 5th, the big news was we finally had the first carrier in this game hit. It's not a critical hit, but it was that really pissed me off, to be honest with you, that I did that because I usually play fairly conservatively, and that was not a conservative move to move that over by Rangoon. Now we did get about 25,000 tons of supply into Rangoon, but that was really done by the cruisers and light cruisers. So we're going to get the Jumna, we're going to get the Hermes out of there, we're going to get him back to Colombo, and assuming he's not pressuring us in Colombo, um, at this point. I may just leave him there, but I'll probably take the Hermes all the way back to Cape Town, or potentially, well, we'll see. We'll see during our setup what we want to do. Anyway, this has been Strategy Gaming Dojo. Good job again by our friend Lodric. It's going to make for a really fun game. It's already making for a fun game. This is the most action I've ever seen in the first month of the war, and I love it. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next time. Strategy Gaming Dojo. Have a good one.